Today is June 13, 2023. I went to do an extra video on Sunday. And once I did, I didn't have enough storage and it just made me physically sick. Talking about all this crap all the time. Sunday was priceless. I went to leave my client's church, Trinity Gospel, and some investigators were outside. Judge Pete better be fooling everybody he was in Karen's house. He better not have been in Karen's house before. And he better not have been in anybody else's house before. He better be fooling people. Okay? I get my client home. I go out to get other stuff out from the car and the neighbors are talking. We told the police they better take care of retired Judge Pete. I don't want him breaking in my home, taking pictures of my family. And he, little kid, about 5 years old, said, I don't want Judge Pete taking pictures of me. Put his little hands on his hip. Reality check. His dad said, I don't want him taking pictures of you either. He'd sell them on porn sites. See, this comes down to shame on retired Judge Pete and Michelle for involving themselves in this. Shame on them. Who the hell do they think they are, breaking in private homes, stalking people? Taking videos of them in bed with their partner, them naked showering, photoshopping shower scenes, admitting they did it. Finding tapes in a protected custody case of them admitting it. And where I had bruises, I was throwing up and almost passing out, heart racing, and then a personal affection. He's breaking in, date rape, drugging me, so I'd be sleepwalking for 4 to 6 hours, beating me and raping me under amnesia drugs. Sick bastard. So how could that agent see retired Judge Pete but anything but a sexual predator and a serial rapist? How could he see him but anything else but that? Breaking in private homes, doing that. How can anybody else look at him but that? I want you to think about that. How can you look at him anything but a serial rapist and a sexual predator preying on women in their homes? That's why June 7th, 2023, Katie's sister and some of the people from Lighthouse are in Walmart 62 between 9 and noon, about 11 o'clock. I'm going to use the bathroom. They're out there laughing at FBI agent John. That FBI agent fell for their tapes before? What on earth? That was just a stunt. They fell for that? He fell for that? You mean John fell for that? FBI agent John fell for that that stunt of tapes before. That was only a stunt and he fell for it. Is that why he did little with the case and they got away with this? And they're mocking him. Screaming his name out. How they fooled him. What was he doing looking at him? It's a federal constitutional law. You have a right to privacy within your own home. Nobody can monitor you in your own home. He was to arrest them for stalking me. What was he doing looking at stalking tapes? Anybody can Photoshop anything. Because I went through the list of March 2nd to the 3rd, 21. They were going to put 2 clips together, put her in a porn. It's not her, it's them. Then what you're describing is showering? Walk outside my apartment. They're laughing off me in the distance. She figured out what they did. May 12th, 22, Bubba's Restaurant, 6-8 men. We found a tape of them admitting a shower scene in the other room. May 26th, 22, KOC, the shower scene was done on purpose at the Oakland apartment. December 9th, 21, 4 p.m. that everything was drugged and photoshopped. Client Navarre, her neighbor, they said retired Judge Pete drugged, photoshopped, and made everything up on me. And there was a guy at the Hunger Task Force, December 9th, 21, white man, bald with dark eyes, distributing food. I actually worked the case. They always knew everything was drugged and photoshopped for all the tapes before were them and not her, so we never said a word. I have a whole big long list of framing. March 24, 22, 1133 apartment buildings for me, tall white guy with brown hair. Did everything. You framed her before? Yeah, we framed her before. And I can go through the drugs and told to say stuff. People went to the police. They don't think that call's funny. Now, we're going to go back, and they even mocked the FBI. The FBI agent that knew he was to arrest them. Knew he couldn't look at him. Like Officer Reinhardt Louisville. Even the FBI would go to jail for being in your home outside a protected life case with statements. There's nothing else. It's a right to privacy, and then you have a right to remain quiet and a right to attorney. They have been using people's extreme low IQs, and that agent makes the FBI look stupid. And him allowing an occult to get away with this, he needs to go to jail for it, 100%. He fed me to them and a drug cartel to abuse the hell out of me. And people got taken and killed. And it's his fault. 100% his fault. They stole me the money from the case for working this case. They said it was actually him up at that church telling on me the night before, verified by officers November 6, 22 at Trinity Gospel. My ex-husband, April 15, 16, 23, told her son Danny he's seen an agent up at that church asking threats on my life, and he actually talked to him personally. Where I tried to tell him on a recorded line, somebody told on me, he called me a liar. He's not allowed to call me a liar. There's badgering laws. You have to take a victim or a witness or informant statement if you believe them or not, follow through. Or it's badgering. It's obstruction, justice, tampering with evidence, and tampering with witnesses. It's exactly what he did. Okay? And now I'm going to give you some history of Dave and Katie. Now, I hate to even talk about him. It just makes me sick. In 2003, I got well from having fibromyalgia. Before that, for a few years, one day, I was perfectly fine, and I just doubled up and started screaming. It hurt so bad in my lower stomach. Dave rushed me to the emergency room. They did an emergency appendectomy. Okay? He said it didn't look bad, but the way she was screaming, it had been going bad, so I took it out for safety. Okay? Well, 2 months later, I start screaming in the same spot. Go in the emergency room. Have you ever been checked for cyst? I'm like, what's cyst? They checked me, I had endometriosis. I was full of cysts. They started me on burning treatments and medication, which caused kidney stones. Was getting knocked out, putting stents in my kidneys. Several times taken in and out. The cysts were bursting in my stomach, and they had to go through my belly button and repair some things several times. Knocked me out for that. Okay. Then, let's see. The cysts were exploding so hard in my stomach that my uterus literally flipped over. And when I'd have my monthly, I'd have to wear 3 pads. And at times, I would just gush. I'd be laying in bed, walking, and it would just hit the floor. I'd bleed out on the floor. From the blood collecting from it literally being turned upside down. They ended up doing a lower hysterectomy, helping to save my ovaries because I was in my 20s. Then a few months later, I'm screaming again. The endometriosis came back with a vengeance on my ovaries. One of the cysts were as big as a golf ball. They said if it would have burst, it could have killed me. So they cut me side to side. Took out my ovaries, cleaned up some of the scar tissue. And I got better for a little bit. And then my gallbladder went bad, and I had to have it taken out, and I had pancreatitis from it not working. I started getting better a little bit, and where I was on all those medications and surgeries, I was still getting those kidney stones and getting stents taken in and out. And one day I started bleeding. I go in the emergency room, and one of the tubes had literally kinked and went back up, and it was flowing back up into the kidney, and it was making the kidney bleed. So they had to cut a 4-inch scar. I got a 4-inch scar on my back. Go through, remove the damaged tube, and sew it back together. Now, I'm about 105, 110 pounds. Not much more or less. Bundle of pain. Been cut front and back within 2.5 years, all those surgeries. I'm like this in pain. The muscles from back to front have been cut so many times. I get diagnosed with fibromyalgia. Fibromyalgia is a pain syndrome from being hurt. Your muscles lock up from being hurt, and as they lock up, little balls form in your muscles. And they were putting up to 30 injections in my neck and back. I gained 100 pounds. They started me on alternative medicines, and I started swelling. Well, as soon as I started swelling, they should have pulled me off everything. They didn't. Even if it was 20 years ago, they didn't. I was having an allergic reaction. They added more medicine. I kept swelling more. They kept talking about spontaneous remission, that it normally goes into it. And here I'm starting to even, my heart's getting off from all the medication. So, this one lady told me, I know about this doctor that treats pain with pain medicine and gets you out moving, you get better. Well, I'm desperate by then. My legs are so swollen. I wear 7.5 shoes. I was 8.5 wide and they weren't tight. My feet are so swollen and numb from all the swelling, I'm falling. My knees are so swollen all the way up into my thighs. My knees are popping out of place. I'm going into orthopedic doctors. They're pulling out syringes, turkey-based syringes of fluid, putting steroids in. So they gave me canes and braces just to stabilize it, because I could walk around the house at times, just lean on something, or, you know, and it matters how much numbness I had. I mean, think if your hand's all swelled up, you can't move it. You can't pick anything up. Try balancing your body weight on 2 numb feet. And then alone, and you have that fluid that's popping your knees out. And I went up to that doctor. He's like, I had a woman not quite as bad as you. In 9 months, I have her running on a treadmill. And I thought, you're crazy. I feel like I'm dying. I have MRI reports, blood work. My thyroid had quit working. My adrenal gland, my pituitary gland started swelling. I mean, from all these, where they say you can have side effects from medication, you really do have allergic reactions to them. I know it was 20 years ago. All this is documented through Cleveland Clinic, orthopedic doctors, surgeons, MRI reports, okay? And so the first month I'm working with that doctor, he put me on fentanyl patches, Vicodins, and muscle relaxers. First month, I puked and puked. Amazing thing happened. The second month, I got better. I could start driving a car. I could start pulling myself around stores. I used to wear ankle boots to help stabilize my feet because they were so numb. And I started pulling myself, my boys had a paper route, and I pulled myself around back allotments. Working with this doctor repeatedly. Going out, getting pain medicine every month, and going out and moving, okay? I had lost about 30 pounds by May. And I'm getting stronger, I'm getting better. And like I said, sometimes around the house, I didn't even need anything. I just had to make sure I didn't fall over from the numbness. Okay, and a lot of times I hit the floor and I crawl over to a couch, pull myself back up, and do it again. One day we're all working on the house. It's in May of 2003. And Brian Laney shows up. And he knocks on the door. All my kids are home. Dave, we're all working on the house. He said Phil and Tyler had got killed in a traffic accident. I said, they got killed? He said, yeah, Phil ran a stop sign and a semi hit him. There's other people around behind him, and they try to call strange and tell him. He called him a liar, called him names, hung up on him, and they were too afraid to call Vega South. And they had to wait for those bodies to get to the hospital to tell him. Well, the funeral was horrible. Phil wasn't even showable. And Tyler's neck had got broke. And Vega lost it at the funeral screaming, and they had to carry him out. It was horrible. His wails and screams. And Phil was a lovely man, and Tyler was a sweetie. So everybody was grieving really hard. Okay? 2 months later, a missionary shows up. He prays for me. He gives me a football lecture. I want you to fight through the pain. I want you to rebuke the pain. You'll beat this. Everybody in church has been, you're getting so much better, Karen. Look at the weight you're losing. You're going to beat this. Well, he said the same thing. Well, the next day I get out on the paper route and I'm pulling myself around the back allotment. Nothing happened. Second day, third day, the fourth day. Now, this is into 9 months of pulling myself around places, trying to get my muscles strong enough that they don't spasm anymore. It finally clicked. The pain left. Now, I still had swelling. It was still going down. And um, I still fell at different times for 2 more months. Took me 6 months to get off all that medication. And as the swelling went down, the thyroid started working, adrenal gland, and even the swelling of my pituitary gland went down. It was like the nurse at the Altman Family Physician, you were having an allergic reaction to those medications, and they didn't catch it. It's a good thing you got off of them. So everything, and fibromyalgia goes into remission 80% of the time. 80%. Unnaturally. And I had to work 9 months of working out to get mine to go. Did anything to have to do with anything? No. I have scars all over me. I went through a really rough time in my life, and I wouldn't have got so sick if I wouldn't have went to pain management. Okay. So, a few months more later, now Katie had just started really coming back to church, and her friend Trish and I were friends, and she was out of church. She's like, Karen, she goes to the bars, and I go with her. Don't tell anybody, because they're not allowed. And she said she'll get mad. She'll go out and have sex with the men's wives, or the men, and leave their wives in the bar or their girlfriend. And she'll get mad at those women and take their husband out to the car and have sex with them, go back in, and they get in bar fights. She's crazy. She'll just sleep with anything. Well, Dave knew the stories. Well, she shows up to church. Now, apostolics dress almost like Mennonites. The longer skirts, the hair in the buns, and the modest dressing. Well, here comes Katie in heels, just lit up, way up her thigh, and all the guys are oogling her. And, okay. So, Strange pulled that stunt. You were faking you were sick, and faking you got well while Ron was grieving. Was I faking? Hell no. Do I have documents that all that stuff happened to me and scars? Yeah. Had nothing to do with anything. Told everybody that. People lapped it up like dogs. They seen me go through surgeries. They seen me swell up. They seen me getting better. They seen me out pulling myself around stores. They knew I was getting better. Nothing had to do with nothing. But he was an occult leader that made up a lie. And he could tell them the sky is purple and the grass is pink. And if you don't see it that way, pray till you do. And they would pray till they seen it that way. Because they believed anything that would come out of that man's mouth. They all knew better. Even Vega did. His one kid's an RN nurse since like 15, 16. She knows fibromyalgia. You can go on Google. Fibromyalgia goes into spontaneous remission within 80% of the time in the first 2 years, then follows afterwards. And what makes you swell up that bad? Medication errors, like the RN nurse said. So everything that happened to me was explainable, right? Well, why'd he do that? Well, he used to call Dave his son from the pulpit. He wasn't related to him, but he kissed his butt enough that he considered him his favorite. So Dave could cheat, get rid of his wife and kids out of the church, and he could have whatever girlfriend he wanted until he decided what he wanted. The so-called religious people were letting open adultery. Yeah, the people that are supposed to be so godlike. Okay? Well, Dave, Danny, I told you, Danny had in another tape that Strange had pushed him so bad he had to go into counseling and try to kill himself. Well, I think they backed off because there was this Stark County social workers involved. Well, when Danny was grown and got married, Georgine Vavusa was a Stark County social worker. I wonder what Dave will do when Danny grows up. Well, he tried to kill me. Well, in 2011 or 12, I'm going down to Blaylock's church. People are making up all kinds of crazy lies on me, and people are laughing at me. And Dave starts acting crazy again. He came home from church one night, and I had watched my grandchildren. They had left about 2 hours before that, and I'm laying there watching TV. He comes in, he crawls across me, grabs my arm, and twists it till it feels like the bones are breaking. And I'm just laying there screaming. My arm was messed up for a long time. And I'm like, why? You learn to keep your mouth shut. I'm like, I hadn't talked to anybody. Another time he came home, he got undressed and we got in bed and he started to make love to me. He said, I can't stay interested in you. I roll over on my stomach and he jumps on my back and starts butt raping me and holding me down and hurting me. And I'm screaming, crying, tears, God, stop. And time I break free from him and I run downstairs and I collapse in the shower and I'm bleeding onto the shower floor. Took me a long time to get myself up and together. I go upstairs in full tears and I'm like, why? Why? He's like, you'll learn to keep your filthy mouth shut. I said, I haven't talked to anybody. What are you talking about? And he said, what? And I said, I haven't talked to anybody. I've been home all night. And then somebody said something to me and I went, I don't know what you're talking about. He said, what do you mean you don't know what they're talking about? And he got mad enough, he quit his church. Okay? He was good to me for years. You never made Dave mad. He beat the hell out of you. I hurt you bad. In one of the videos, I asked him why he did that to my arm and why he was hurting me. He said, what do you want me to say? I got in a fight with my girlfriend and came home and took it out on you? I just looked at him like, oh my God, that is what happened, isn't it? He was probably dating Katie again. And then they broke up. I told you. And we were going up to Pamers randomly. And in like 17, 18, people started saying, I thought you two broke up. I thought he was dating Katie. I'm like, he hadn't even went to that church in 5 years. Why would she make that up? I'm like, Dave, are you cheating on me? He's like, no. Well, he kept saying it into 18 that I thought you guys broke up. I thought he was dating Katie. And I'm like, Dave, are you cheating on me? He's like, Karen, I'm with you every moment but when I'm at work. Where would I get the time? He had to be leaving work to go off with her. Instead of them being adults and saying they're having an adulterous affair. And he wants to just get a divorce. She's a millionaire. Go move on the farm with her. Let me have Lennox make it right with me. They're just running around telling everybody, you know. And we go, no, this is a setup too. 100% setup. We're walking into the mall and through Macy's. He said, I don't know why that girl's making that up. Because the way he was describing, she was pathetic. And just some woman making up stuff that some married man would go out with her. And that she don't even see it for attention. That's the way he was describing her, that she was pathetic. Okay? I'm like, why would that girl make all that stuff up? And you haven't even seen her. You don't even go to her church in 5 years, except for when you see her in the mall when we walk by. He said, trust me, I'd rather kiss a cow's butt than that fat, ugly heifer. We're in Macy's by the Purses. She works at Ashcroft and Oak. Way down the mall. Could she hear us? No. So that had been a setup for her friends or family to be around us. I turn around and start laughing. He says something again at the entrance of Macy's. Could she hear us? No. So how did they find out? Because it was a setup. They came up with a plan for him to insult her and for me to laugh. And then to find out. So she could be so hurt that everybody has to get her because she insulted me. Well, Dave insulted her and I laughed. But it was a setup for all their church people to get me. Because Dave called her fat and ugly in another store, not even to her face or where she could hear. And the only way that they could find out is they were having me stalked. And it was a setup for him to say it, for me to laugh, and for them to hear it. Because otherwise they wouldn't have known. And because she's psycho, and instead of Dave just divorcing me and going off with her, she wanted to hurt me because I was his wife. And they just wanted to hurt me because I was his wife. He walked me out in the mall and dipped me in front of her. Well, she's not dating Dave. Only thing she knows is Dave kissed and dipped me in the mall. Big deal. They're married 30 years. He's showing off for Karen. I didn't know they were dating. He was portraying her as she was pathetic. Okay? Some big man came up to me, "You'll learn not to insult their women." I thought, who are you? And then we're up at Apostolic Church of Barberton for the start. Frank and Linda Strange were up there. I used to be friends with their one daughter, Dawn, when she was alive. And Frank and Linda always said I looked like Linda Carter, Wonder Woman. When I was younger, I had brown hair, 105 pounds, big blue eyes. And I went up to say hi to them. And Annette, is their daughter. And she's real snotty. She comes up, "I thought I seen you here." Looks at her husband, Gus. "Gus, what's a heifer?" He said, "A cow. Oh, we'll be taking care of this." I thought, how did you find out? Because that was a setup from the sick, psychotic, heavy bitch that's a millionaire that just wanted to hurt me because I was Dave's wife and wanted them to help. Because they couldn't just go off and be married. He was dating a stripper, too. Because does he think it's funny bringing her here? That's where the drug cartel comes in. He was also, I think it was Paymer that actually confronted Savannah. "Are you dating him?" Because I'm going to say something to his wife. I wasn't too far off. And she said, "No, we're only friends. We talk." She had no right talking to my husband about how to hurt me. She needed to keep her snotty nose out. Do you understand? They needed to keep their nose out of this. And doing stuff behind my back, him conspiring with other women how to hurt me, is sick. And it's sick that they would even want to participate hurting a woman that has nothing to do with his adulterous affairs. Okay, because if he wanted a wild lifestyle, he should have just left me. Right? You know what the response was? Hire retired Judge Pete in a store in Ravenna, our new retirement home, kicking our door on the 6-day setup butt camera stalking me. By the second week, wake up with bruises I can't explain, throwing up, almost passing out, even in front of the neighbors. They were in there roofing me, beating me under amnesia drugs, telling me to say weirdo stuff, I guess. I mean, they have told me all kinds of crazy stuff. You're supposed to hurt everyone. You're supposed to be a flasher. You're supposed to be a weirdo. You're supposed to be crazy. I thought you're crazy. I never talked to anybody, and what were you doing in my home? And they're supposed to have taped me and Dave in bed, sold us on porn sites, took videos of me in the shower and put a shower scene in the other room. And where they date rape drug me with amnesia drugs, that's where the drug cartel comes in. They were getting their drugs, so I'd be sleepwalking for 4 to 6 hours. So they could tell me to say whatever they wanted, and they could beat and rape me and sell me on porn sites. Now, do you think that's funny for Dave getting even with me for his sick, heavy-set millionaire girlfriend that just wants to hurt the wife because he's married and not know who's doing it to her? Do you realize how mentally ill she is? Do you realize how mentally ill Michelle and retired Judge Pete is? Why would you help some Jim Jones occult? Huh? Why would they help them? Say, just pay off your wife. You leave her out of it. You leave your kids out of it. You want to go off and have affairs. I ain't helping you. Like my daughter-in-law Dixie said, it was ridiculous what retired Judge Pete and Michelle did to you for him to go out with other people. It was none of their damn business. They had no right in my home. That's where Katie's sister, Jody, and some of the other people from Lighthouse were mocking John, the FBI agent from Canton. You mean the FBI agent fell for their stunts of the tapes before? As if. You mean John fell for that? That was only a stunt. You mean he actually fell for it? Come on. He actually fell for it? Is that why you did little with the case and they got away with it? Mocking him June 7th, 2023. Walmart 62 by the bathroom, screaming into the bathroom. I want you to know, they made fun of him. What was he doing looking at him? Why didn't he arrest him? Just because can an occult hire some retired judge to stalk some innocent woman in her home, or does she have a right to privacy and be safe and secure in her own home? I have a right to privacy. He can't break in private homes. Dave can't hire him to stalk me. It's my house. I have a right to privacy. I have a right to remain quiet and a right to attorney. Did he have a right to break in and drug me? Beat me and rape me and leave me with bruises? You know, I've seen by Altman Family Physician all summer long. All summer long. All summer long for migraines, throwing up, dizzy, heart racing, almost passing out, giant bruises I couldn't explain.
They thought I was anemic, and they didn't know what was wrong with me. You put date rape, drug, beat, and raped, it fits in a personal infection that wouldn't go away. Now, I want you to realize how sick is Katie, but then how sick is retired Judge Pete and Michelle, that for a Jim Jones call would hurt the wife for no damn reason. And then set off this hate crime. You know, that's where one of my client's neighbors, we told the police they better get a hold of Judge Pete and take care of him. I don't want him worrying about him breaking in my home and taking videos of my family. Little kid, 5-year-old, standing there to his dad, said, I don't want Judge Pete taking pictures of me. He said, I don't either. Because what's going to stop him? They haven't stopped him yet. You know what? That agent opened a real case with statements, money, and immunity, and he didn't do much with it, just let it run. And let that Jim Jones call, a drug cartel that was human trafficking people, run wild down here. It took the sheriffs and the marshals to pick up my case and get the people linked into this, and grabbed over 800 people nationwide. If that agent, John, wanted to give the FBI 2 black eyes and a punch in the stomach, and because that judge sold a protective light case, it's public knowledge. People have been, the FBI betrayed her. They let her live through all that and didn't even pay her. They still owe me that money. I told that agent I was told on to that church, and they said it was that agent telling on me. Police officers verified it was him before I called him back. There was a 25 grand hit on my life. Did they pay him off? Because they called him a paid off dirty agent in the mall in February of 19. Tried to tell him about the guy that threatened to knife me, had tried to kidnap me before, started screaming at me, calling me a liar, threatened to arrest me if I didn't say I was lying. That's badgering. It's obstruction to justice, tampering with evidence, and tampering with witnesses. Made me beg for my life, listed me informant for life, $5,000 a month for life, immunity for life, and then threatened me again. I already told them they already knew. He's just trying to scare me and to stay quiet so they get away with it. So why would he help them? Huh? You going to fall for strangers' tricks so Dave can have another girlfriend? You're going to fall for them hiring Judge Pete to publicly humiliate me because Dave called. And that was a stunt, too, for all of them to turn on me. Because why did he call her heifer? She was telling people in 2011-12 they were going out together. And he said, I'm not going out with that girl. And he got mad. I told you, he got mad enough he quit his church when he found out some lie I didn't know about. After he had already butt raped me and beat me. Do you know I ended up in the hospital from a severe infection? From that butt rape? My insides were torn and everything. For what? Somebody lying to him that I said something and I didn't? Do you realize how sick Dave is? I told you, you never made him mad. It hurt you bad. And why would these people want their daughters to date a man like that? Why do they think so little of their daughters that they would give them to somebody that would beat, rape, drug them, and publicly humiliate them and try to kill them? Why do you hate your daughters? Now, see, so what is that agent's excuse that he didn't follow through? Failure to protect his abuse and misconduct. And retired Judge Pete started telling everybody he was FBI Canton agent from the Canton area, and no one was allowed to help me. Failure to protect his abuse and misconduct. They need to arrest him. I have friends that are retired sheriffs out of this area. They're like, are your local police slow? They should have arrested that agent the first day, and that retired judge. They can't do any of this. Nobody can be in your home. Fourth Amendment, you have a right to be safe and secure within your own person. Your places, your homes, your personal effects, and papers against all unreasonable searches or seizures shall not be violated. It shall not be violated. No searches, no seizures without probable cause. Warranted. You have to have a warrant. With oath or affirmation of people, places, or things, and list of them to be searched and seized and why. They have to tell you why they're there, so you can lawyer up and shut up and have a legal defense, because your constitutional rights. You have policing agencies can only be in a home under a threat of life with statements. It's called entrapment. They're not allowed. There's brick house laws. Department of Justice looks at a man's home as a castle and shall not be entered into. They can't hire. Dave admitted to Danny April 15, 16, 23, where they had got Eric Hyde, November 18th, 22, Walmart 62 by the hair salon, and told him to go in and confess for all the tapes before were him and not me, and it was done for everyone to turn on me, ha ha ha. Had him dead to rights that he did everything. Screaming out a confession, got him high and told him go in and confess under amnesia drugs. He told Danny on April 15, 16, 23, he didn't know why that man confessed, because he framed him. Drugged him up and told him to say it in a public place. Under amnesia drugs. That he had hired some guy named Pete on his own, and it was only Pete up there doing all those things to me before. And Pete has her going on about Pete having me framed. Pete doesn't have anything admissible. It's a federal constitutional law. That's where Officer Reinhardt laughed about it. The Portage County Sheriff, everything these people did is illegal. We can't look or listen. It's the Fourth Amendment, yes. Same thing with Officer Reinhardt in Louisville. Even the FBI would go to jail for being in your home outside a protected lie case with statements. My friend from the prosecutor's office is a fraud scheme. It's the Fourth Amendment. They can't even look or listen to it. Anything outside a protected lie case with statements, it's illegal too. They're just running a big scam down here. Okay? All right, so he said that he had seen that agent up at that church, and he even spoke to him. Told you, November 6, 22 at Trinity Gospel, investigators are in there saying that it was verified by officers. It was the agent that called me back that told on me the night before. He got to deal with him. That's why they drugged me up for 3 days so I couldn't get out of bed. And he knew I was being drugged, beat, raped, human trafficked, and stalked and sex trafficked videos of me and Dave online to embarrass me for Katie. I told you, she's mentally sick. She's a millionaire. But them in that church thinking they can get even with somebody because they thought they insulted one of their women in another store. They wouldn't have known if they weren't stalking me, and Dave wouldn't have done it in front of them on purpose. It was a setup too. This whole thing was a setup so she could get attention. I bet she didn't know about the stripper. I bet she didn't know about Michelle. And then they must have broke up where he's going to marry Kathy. Then there's this little young blonde thing running around. Do you know what all those people did to her for me to get everything? You weren't the only one, honey. I've heard about 3 or 4 other women, even from family members he was dating. He's living out some kind of weird fantasy in his 60s, trying to go out with every woman he can and do everyone. Now, none of this is funny. The FBI still owes me that money in that protected custody case. Had an officer talk to Dave. My case started September 27th, 18. And there's a real case, and other police departments, sheriffs and marshals out of this area used it to get a lot, 800 bad guys or more. And the FBI needs to make this right, because they've made fun of them too.